Everyone's got ideas. They've got grand visions of growing a bigger company, growing a more successful company, but execution is really the name of the game.
Welcome to the Real Estate Executive Thought Leadership Podcast, a fast paced show featuring focused insights from executive thought leaders in the real estate industry.
In episode 10, we interview Kevin Bupp. He's the CEO of Sunrise Capital Investors, a Clearwater, Florida-based private commercial real estate investment firm that focuses on value-add manufactured home communities and parking assets. Kevin is also the host of the top-rated Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow podcast. We talk about how to build a sustainable company that generates recurring revenue and offers flexibility, freedom, and the ability to support family and be present for significant moments in their lives. We'll touch on the importance of attracting and retaining talent, how to find value-add opportunities and build rapport with motivated sellers, and the power of performance-based leadership. Let's get started. Hi, Kevin. Welcome to the show.
Kirky, nice to be here and excited to talk with you today.
So let's talk about your professional background first. Please tell us about your experience in real estate and marketing.
I've been a full-time real estate investor for 20 years now. I got fairly lucky at a young age. I was in community college and at the age of 19 was introduced to a gentleman through some mutual friends that was a local real estate investor. He was about 25 years my senior and lived a very different lifestyle than what I was used to growing up. I saw it as something, his business as something that I had a sincere interest in, although I didn't really understand it. He essentially took me underneath his wing for a period of about a year where I learned the ins and outs of his business, which was basically in Pennsylvania where I grew up. What he owned was small multifamily rentals and single family rentals. And so he had a small business, but did quite well for himself. And I basically just modeled what he did. I started from the ground floor using some money that I had saved up tending bar while going to community college and started buying really low end rental properties in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where I was born and raised. Realized that it was a business that I was really passionate about. I understood, and it was something that I realized that I could build a career and a lifestyle out of. Age of 20 is when I bought my very first property, and I'm 41 now. And so I've been at it full time for over 20 years. That's where we started. And that's all I've done throughout my entire life. I've had other businesses, different side businesses, but the core has always been real estate investments.
What appeals to you about real estate and what inspired you to start your companies?
One of the lessons that was taught to me early on by David, David was the mentor that introduced me to this business, was building a sustainable company that produced recurring revenue day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. He really built his business around having his tenants pay down his mortgages to the point to where he would own his real estate free and clear, have a substantial amount of equity, but also have reoccurring income, passive income on a monthly basis that would support his family, his lifestyle. Everyone needs a roof over their head. I remember that was the first really thing that he ingrained into my brain. I do this business because it creates a lifestyle, it supports my lifestyle. However, the one thing that everyone will always need other than food and water and oxygen is a actual roof over their head. Everyone's always going to need a quality roof over their head. And that's what I provide. And that hit home with me and I understood it. It made sense. And at that point in my life, I didn't really understand reoccurring revenue. Like I got it, I wanted to make money and I wanted to make money today and I wanted that money to continue coming in. That made sense, but I didn't really know how that would play out over the long term. So my objective at that point was really just to model his business, because why fix what isn't broke? That's what really attracted me initially to real estate.
All right, let's get into professional direction. What does success look like for you in 5 years?
I've got a young family. I've been married now for 10 years. I've got two boys, ages 3 and 6. And what I do today is for very similar reasons to why I got into this business, is to support my family and to support my lifestyle, what that lifestyle means to me. Lifestyle to me means flexibility, freedom. We travel a lot. We spend a lot of time out in our boat in the ocean, doing activities with the kids, a lifestyle that allows me to be present for my family. That's where I'm at today. And in all honesty, Kirky, success in 5 years, really, I don't see that as being defined any differently. It's allowing me to basically continue on that same path and continue to have that freedom and flexibility to support my family and be there for them and be present in every important moment in their lives.
Yes, that's what it's about. What professional development tools and resources are you engaging with?
I've always been a self-taught entrepreneur. David, who became my very first mentor, I've had many over the years. He's the one that introduced me initially to the self-help motivational genre. I guess you could really classify those two things in the same category. Back when CDs were around, but really it was audio tapes. This is back when late night TV commercials, you'd see Zig Ziglar and multiple of those other famous motivational speakers selling their programs. David introduced me to that world and to hand me a number of books. And that introduction to self-motivation and self-development was a game changer for me. It really taught me the necessary life skills I needed to succeed as an individual, as a husband, but also as an entrepreneur. And so I spend no less than probably twenty to $30,000 a year, not just on books, and now it's audiobooks and things of that nature, but also conferences, mastermind groups. I'm a part of multiple different high level mastermind groups with other very successful entrepreneurs. Those are the primary resources that I utilize to help grow and maintain my business. That old saying goes, your net worth is equal to that of the average five people that you surround yourself with the most. And so I surround myself with those that are doing even bigger and better things than what I am, that I'm always trying to improve upon myself. We do that through masterminds and networking groups and what have you. Unfortunately, at the time we find ourselves in today, those groups are more in a virtual format than past times when it was actually going to a function and actually rubbing elbows with folks and breaking bread with other successful entrepreneurs. But hopefully we'll get back to that time sometime in the future.
How do you decompress from daily business?
I love to exercise. My hobby of choice as far as exercising is cycling. I do a lot of long distance cycling. So that's one of the many ways that I decompress, but just spending time with the family. We do a lot of things together. We live in a coastal area here in Florida. So we're always outside, either cruising around in our golf cart or we're out in the boat. We take my sons fishing or tubing or just hanging out on the beach or the sandbar. Really, it's either family time or exercise, one of those two.
Okay, let's talk about your company. What do the Kevin Bupp companies and Sunrise Capital investors offer, and who do you serve?
The primary company is Sunrise Capital Investors. Kevin Bupp Companies is just really my own personal holding company. That's the umbrella over our other primary companies. But the core company that is the majority of my business today and that receives the majority of my attention is Sunrise Capital Investors. And that company is a real estate investment firm that specializes in mobile home communities or manufactured housing communities and also parking lots and parking garages. So those are the two assets of choice that we like to invest in. And so essentially Sunrise Capital Investors works with other high net worth individuals that are passive investors. We take their capital, take their investment, and basically partner with them on assets across the country, real estate investments across the country.
What do you consider to be your core competencies that drive value?
I feel like our company, I've got a partner as well. I think we're really good at attracting talent, not just attracting talent to the team, but also retaining it. You're getting the right butts into the right seats, which is a vital cog in any business, whether you're growing or already an existing business and you're stable. I mean, getting the right butts in the right seats. In addition to that, my individual core competencies is finding value opportunities. We're an opportunistic real estate investor. And so that means buying assets under their intrinsic value and understanding how to actually realize that value through many different means of uncovering the upside potential. And so that's one of our strong suits. We've done it really well in the particular asset classes we're in today. We've been investing in mobile home parks for about 10 years now, and we've got a stellar track record of creating massive amounts of value in pretty much every asset that we purchased over this last decade.
All right, let's talk about investment strategy and trends. What trends and challenges do you see in the industry, and how are you adapting?
As it relates to our industry, as I mentioned, we've got two different asset classes that we focus in. Manufactured housing, we've been doing longer than the other, which is parking lots. And one of the big trends in the manufactured housing space is it's a very unique asset class in that it's the only commercial niche that has a diminishing supply, meaning that there's less new supply coming on the market than what's actually going away or getting redeveloped. There's a declining number of mobile home parks in the country. That's unique in and of itself. But one of the interesting trends that's played out over the past couple of years is that while it's always been a lucrative space to be in, it was kind of under the radar. It was a very fragmented niche, lots of mid-size or smaller size investors in the space, but not much institutional money, if any. However, the secret's kind of gotten out. Now there's a lot of institutional capital. Blackstone, Carlyle Group, very large private equity firms are injecting billions upon billions of dollars of capital into our space, which it's good and bad. It's bad due to the additional competition we have from very large institutional players, but it's good because it's bringing a lot of recognition to our space and helping to eliminate any of the negative stigmas associated with our industry. Those are some of the interesting trends that are happening in the manufactured housing space. As far as in the parking lot space, one of the things that is suffering is the parking lot industry. So I don't know if that's necessarily a trend, but it kind of is because folks aren't driving. There's a mass exodus that's happening from densely populated MSAs, such as New York City and Boston, these areas that people have been quarantined and stuck in for 3-4 months without leaving their apartments. There's folks that are making a mass exodus to the suburbs now. That trend was the opposite for the last couple of decades where people were moving towards the city to the urban areas. Now we're finding that there's a large percentage that are moving away based on what just played out over the last 4 months. The parking industry is suffering. However, I think that trend of lack of folks spending recreational time in urban areas will create opportunity for those that are actually looking to acquire assets in the parking sector. I think that's really the trend that will play out over the next 12 to 18 months. I think that any parking lots that were maybe slated for redevelopment into a high rise office or mixed use development will ultimately get either curbed or slowed down to the point to maybe there's distress with that particular developer, could create opportunities for buyers in that sector.
How do you identify above average investment opportunities?
Whatever sector you're investing in, I think there's always above average investment opportunities. It's really how hard you want to dig to find that needle in the haystack. We're really good at finding undervalued opportunities, whether it be the current owner has mismanaged it, whether it be the current owner hasn't maximized the upside potential by means of keeping the rents within the market pace. Maybe they haven't kept their expenses to a realistic average over an annual basis, what have you. One of the ways that we uncover these opportunities is building large amounts of relationships. And so one of the things that makes us unique is in our business, it's very typical for if you, Kirky, wanted to go purchase a mobile home community or a parking lot, would be to go to a real estate broker that specializes in that niche and rely on them within whatever market they specialize in to find you an opportunity. Typically, those opportunities get presented to the entirety of the marketplace, meaning that you're competing against many different potential buyers to that same asset. However, we take the opposite approach. We have spent the last 7 years building a proprietary database of every mobile home park that exists throughout the country. We've got a team of virtual assistants, 6 of them to be exact, that's what they do full time, day in, day out. And not only do we have a list of mobile home parks, but we dig very granular into the details of who the ownership, what the ownership structure is, who are the individuals that are on the LLC or the corporation, what's their home mailing addresses, what's their cell phone number, what's their wife's cell phone number, what have you. And we have a whole team that reaches out to these folks on a regular basis and builds relationships, builds rapport with them so that when the point in time comes where they either need or want to sell, they consider us before listing it with a broker. That way, we're not competing against 10 other prospective buyers on the same asset. We typically will get it off market and be the only ones that are actually bidding, which a lot of times allows us to purchase these for much lower than what the market would bring.
How can investors take advantage of the next downturn while also protecting themselves and then recovering when the cycle passes?
I had a lot of challenges in the 2008 crash. I lost a lot of real estate here based in Southwest Florida. I like to think that I was actually pretty responsible about my leverage point back then. However, reflecting back, I'm not sure you could ever be safe enough if you've got debt in the picture. Typically, the only thing that makes an investment go the wrong direction is too much debt, too much leverage. I would say be very considerate of your leverage point, whether it's a debt on a business, debt on real estate. Be very considerate of where you're at from a debt perspective and the sustainability of that particular asset, and whether it's a business or a physical piece of property. But more importantly than that is to actually have the necessary cash reserves to be prepared for any opportunity that might be spit out on the other side of this very challenging time that we find ourselves in. Back in 2008, I found myself over leveraged with not a lot of cash reserves, not enough cash reserves to even sustain the investments that I had at that point, but surely not enough cash reserves to actually take advantage of the opportunities that came about 2 to 3 years after the start of that recession. And I sat and watched on the sidelines as many others scooped up opportunities, but that I did not have the cash for. And so one of the things that we're doing today is our balance sheet is incredibly healthy. We have a lot of liquidity for our existing assets to ensure that they actually can sustain any type of downturn or hiccup, but also liquidity to take advantage of opportunities that might come down the pike.
All right, let's talk about leadership. How would you describe your leadership style and how do you motivate your team?
I'm a very performance based leader. I'm not a micromanager by any means. We do a very good job on the front side of any new hire, any new team member joining our Sunrise team by setting the expectations appropriately, expectations of what the overall vision is of the company, expectations of what their particular role is within the company, expectations of how their role plays into the rest of the company as a whole and us reaching our goals as a whole. At that point in time, setting actual bars in place tied to those expectations and then literally being there for support, but allowing that individual to basically own that role, to be self-responsible for that role, and having just, again, the necessary KPIs in place to know that they're on the right track. And so I'm very different than a lot of other leaders that are very much a micromanager on top of their employees. I've found that giving employees the space to have a flexible lifestyle, even, one of the things that we did over the past year is we did not renew our office lease. We had been in an office for many, many, many years, and we had always built our business around utilizing technology to gain efficiency in the business. One of the things that we added a couple of years ago was using Slack, communication tool. Everyone knows probably what Slack is, and it was really a big game changer in our business. Probably one of my favorite resources that we use, or tools that we use in the business. What we realized is that we were incredibly efficient inside an office. However, there were certain days that came along where we wouldn't even see each other in the office. We were all there, but we'd be communicating via Slack. And so we made the decision as a company wide that we were not going to renew our lease at the beginning of this year and let everyone work from home, giving everyone the flexibility to manage their family. As long as you get the work done, meet those KPIs, meet those metrics that we set forth for each department, but just get the job done. If you want to intertwine your life, intertwine picking your kids up from school, taking your kids to the dentist, what have you, please do that. Please live a lifestyle that makes you happy while also meeting the performance metrics that we've set forth with Sunrise. And that's worked out really well for us. You can't say that it's a good fit for every team member that we brought on board, but for the ones that actually own it and appreciate the reason why we've done it, they always exceed expectations.
What are the key considerations in fostering a positive organizational culture?
It's really outlining, just taking some time, whether it's just you as an individual or you and you've got partners, or an executive team, but really understanding the why and the vision behind your business. What are the ideals that you've really set in place for that business? Well, why are you doing what you're doing? And then really tying some specific, not just off the shelf core values that you can go find on websites, but really spending time, this exercise that we went through, it literally took us weeks to actually sitting down a couple hours each day to really hone in on the vision of the company, where we wanted to go, not just next year, but 3 years and 5 years. And so we always have a 1 year, a 3 year, and a 5 year goal. And it's always changing. We revisit it every quarter, but it's always changing. But then also really tying core values to that and ensuring that whoever we're going to bring onto the team, they're aligned with our core values. They understand why we're doing what we're doing, and they feel that they're a good fit. And we feel they're a good fit based on the premise of what we built the company, why we built the company, why we're doing what we're doing. If you don't have the right butts in the right seats and those that are truly aligned with where that company's going, then ultimately you're setting yourself up for failure. So I think that's been a big reason behind the overall success of the Sunrise Group.
All right, let's talk about marketing. Is an inbound content strategy worth the time and expense?
Absolutely. Our business is built on marketing. We've got different aspects of how we utilize marketing. The foundations of our business is really content strategy. Our business, our top of our funnel, from my perspective, is a lot of the outbound content that we put out there. So I've got multiple different podcasts. I do a lot of video content that I put out on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook, what have you, all the different social channels. And basically, with an outbound push to educate folks on the niches that we're in, help folks succeed in their own business, if they're in the mobile home park or parking lot space, or just real estate investors in general. And what that in turn does is that basically creates an inflow of folks that are very interested in what it is we're doing and want to be a part of it. And so it's where we've actually found a lot of our team members that are actually on our team today, where we have found a majority of our investors that we've partnered with to purchase real estate all across the country. Marketing plays a heavy role in every different aspect of our business.
How has podcasting helped build your business?
It's been a game changer. I'm not sure exactly where our business would be today if it wasn't for podcasting. I was an early adopter of podcasts. I've been listening to them for 12 plus years, way before people even knew what a podcast was. Started my first one about 6.5 years ago, really only with the intent of educating folks and interviewing interesting people. That was the real initial reasons of doing that. It's become the foundation of our company. It's allowed us to build just monumental relationships within our business. Again, it's allowed us to attract a lot of investment capital to our space, specific to those that want to do exactly what we're doing. They want to partner with us on the different niches that we find ourselves in with Sunrise, and they want to be along for the ride. And so, again, I'm not sure exactly where our company would be at today if it wasn't for podcasting.
Is PR a part of your strategy?
PR to us is content. We might not define PR as another company might define PR, but PR to us is outbound content, just educating the masses on who we are, what we do, and how we can help them in their own journey.
What is the most crucial element in positioning your brand?
Reputation's everything. You've got one chance to actually create a solid reputation and track record, and one chance to wreck it. And those are the only two chances that you have. And so reputation is everything.
Where do you envision your brand going in the 2020s?
We try to stay on the forefront of both of the niches that we find ourselves in today, mobile home parks as well as parking lots. There's always changes day in and day out in both of our industries. Being the thought leaders in our space, the ones that folks look up to better understand the niche, to get educated in the niche, what have you. I just think that Sunrise will continue to be on the forefront of everything new and the latest happenings within both these industries that we find ourselves in.
Where can listeners find your podcast?
I've got two podcasts that I host on a weekly basis. One is called Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow. That's a commercial real estate investing podcast where we interview successful operators in many different commercial real estate niches. They can go to kevinbupp.com to listen to that show and to also link to my other podcast there. My other podcast is called the Mobile Home Park Investing Podcast. That one is very specific to mobile home parks, but both of those can be found on kevinbupp.com.
What is one closing insight you'd like to share for executives targeting growth?
Execution is everything. Everyone's got ideas. They've got grand visions of growing a bigger company, growing a more successful company, but execution is really the name of the game. A lot of executives have trepidations as they're growing their company. I mean, you get to a certain size, and along with that size and to grow to the next level takes additional risk. At some point in time, trepidation you'll start to set in of, is it worth the risk to try to step up to that next stair or that next height? And I would say that if you reflect back on how you got to where you are today, you'll find that there were a lot of failures along the way, but also those failures really, realistically were lessons and lessons that helped you get to your current point. And so the only way that you're going to get to that next level is by executing and also understanding that those failures will ultimately turn into lessons and will help you get to whatever that next level is for you.
Thank you for joining us today and sharing your insights, Kevin.
Kirky, thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to get updates on our upcoming podcasts. Share the inspiration.